Welcome everyone to another video I didn't want to make. Today about the state of audio, or more specifically PluseAudio, mostly in Pipewire only, and also how not to write software, right? Before I dive into the history of Linux audio if you're interested, so what was the problem? I mean, beside like for me with 25 years in Linux, ironically 20 years ago audio worked better than today. You had one like Sound Blaster and it freaking worked. Today, of course, the world is sometimes a little bit more complicated. Actually, on my Linux desktop, not so much. On my Linux desktop, I kinda only use the built-in analog. I have no HDMI audio enabled displays here in the office, and except then the HDMI capture, but that is recording and capture, which ironically works the best. So also PluseAudio mostly worked for the last years here live on this channel, except sometimes not starting, crashing, or worked except not starting, crashing, and sometimes having some audio glitches. We will see. So what was the major issue the last month? So since I also nothing like fancy new graphic cards here live. So since I got this Ryzen, and also this is one installation, but I carry like one T2 Linux portable Road Warrior SSD with me. So since the installation here on this latest and greatest M5 stuff, my audio didn't work, right? And that's not so much of a deal because I usually don't even listen here audio and stuff. So I could still live stream over the HDMI capture thing, but eventually, of course, I wanted to use desktop audio, right? And what I've seen, this is not the actual, so this is the working state. So previously, what was the issue is that PluseAudio didn't list a analog audio sync. Sync is for where you sync audio data in. And so somehow PluseAudio thought it's a good idea to only list a IEEE, no, not IEEE, IEC 9, 7, whatever, sound card, like here's some SPDIF stuff of HDMI stuff. So that was somehow the only thing PluseAudio decided to use on my system. And that is the biggest problem of this stuff, right? Instead of focusing on the 99% percentile stuff that users have, like one audio sync or like the built-in analog audio stuff that everyone uses, the audio people constantly, the Linux open source audio people, they constantly reinvent the wheel, because we have been there, right? We have been there, we have done that. That is here some old from Blogs Adobe 2007 of all things. It's like, yeah, port audio and jack and ESD and ALSA and apps and GStreamer and stuff, right? And eventually actual output device. So the crazy thing is, similar to 20 years ago, the actual driver, whether it's for the HD audio, AMD, motherboard stuff there, the driver works. It even with all the complexity, which is amazing that we have so many developers, even the HDMI stuff is still there. Why do we, if you always wonder, why do we have so many devices here, except my Camlink for casing here? This is also the HDMI pass-through stuff. That is like SPDIF, and please don't call it, some YouTubers always call it SPDIF or so. SPDIF, man. It's not even one freaking word. Anyway, and the problem is that they have, instead of like one solution, and I understand people want dynamically to switch to Bluetooth audio, HDMI and stuff, but the main problem is, and this is what the heck is wrong with you? The main, how? I don't even want to know how they programmed it. That the main audio source disappears. Like, how do you need to write software that the main audio source of a system you don't provide a sync for, right? And I'm not the only one. This picture here was embedded from Listen Up, Kubuntu, and Raging Tale of Sound over HDMI. That was 2013 though, so apparently Sound over HDMI, much more an annoying thing there. But I want to point out, this is how not to write software, right? Instead, I understand that why do we need this stuff? And now we could depart a little bit, or the solution similar to one of those. And that's also the thing, right? Instead of like just working UI stuff, some daemon decides, no, you're not getting the sync. You have like multiple audio Unix devices there in /dev, but no, you're not getting this bloody thing, right? And then even I, with 25 years of experience, and I have not only written ALSA drivers, I've even written a general sound manipulation program 25 freaking years ago, of which we recorded at least some CDs 25 years ago with a M-Audio Delta 1010, which I still have here in the office. And like 25 years ago, I not only wrote software and drivers, I even recorded CDs, right? And 25 years later, I need to waste my time and Google what other people have similar solutions, how they YOLOed around with that. For me, I added here to pools, and that's also the thing, right? That is the open source and Linux illness, bloody configuration files for bloody configuration policies that nobody freaking cares about, right? I don't care what strange configuration policies you make up in your lonely basement or attic. I just want my one freaking sound output on my bloody machine to freaking work TM. So I, as someone suggested there on one of the many posts on the internet, where my freaking, like people's freaking audio doesn't work. So I added here to this default PA set card profile. So obviously I edited this. If you copy stuff from the internet, always edit stuff to your device, right? People always say, I tried that, it didn't work. Like, yeah, you obviously need to update this PCID numbers for slots and stuff. So I had to override this to output analog stereo plus input analog stereo plus input analog stereo. I don't know. So I commented that out because I thought I can show you that for this video, because now obviously there's an analog stereo. Previously, believe me, for 4 weeks I had here IEC9 whatever as PDIF. The crazy thing is, I commented this out, I restarted the PluseAudio daemon, and now it works. Like, it must have cached some bloody shit, London somewhere, I don't know, some crazy stuff. So now I commented this etc pulse default PA thing out there, and it still works for whatever reason, maybe cached, maybe saved configuration. Anyway, the bottom line is, this is not how you write software, right? Like, hiding stuff, I don't even know what strange configuration profiles they store and write there to filter audio stuff, like, and then not giving the user, I mean, they should not disappear, right? I don't know, maybe they configure, maybe they filter broken, like from other motherboards, other devices with strange audio input and output that never worked, or I don't know what random stuff. It wasn't there. And that is not how it should be, right? And sure, so I understand. So if I could give you a summary of the history, and also understand there is PipeWire for, I mean, because PluseAudio sucked. I mean, so many people said PluseAudio sucked so much that there, of course, like, instead of fixing stuff, although the people's like, yeah, it's pattering software, unfixable, we write it from scratch, get that. But rewriting the state of Linux sound server stuff for the 10th time, yay. I tried PipeWire, it did not just work. 2022, the maintainer of Linux distribution, I fired it. I know it should have backward compatibility and yada yada whatnot. I killed PluseAudio daemon, I started the PipeWire, it did not just work. Probably like due, I should have read the freaking manual more, but due, I don't want to read the freaking menu for bloody sound server, right? I don't even want a sound server, and if there's a sound server, it should just effing work TM. So whatever it's with PipeWire, maybe I spent another hour or two tonight to figure out how to bloody start PipeWire. Maybe it would work have better, maybe it wouldn't. How did we get to all this mess, right? Wikipedia has your list of sound servers, and I can give you the summary. As I said in the beginning, 25 years ago, audio freaking just worked TM. Back in the early days, in the 90s, we had OSS, Open Sound System, which had very simple dev DSP and dev mixer and something of that sort. Devices also probably inherited from other commercial Unix sound server implementation, sound system things, so that, as far as I remember, details might be slightly off, it's 25 years ago. So that is where this OSS came from, open sound system. Sure, 25 years ago we did not always have drivers, so it usually just worked, except someone still had to write a driver, which thankfully I rarely had to. And then we had ALSA, because OSS was very limited, like Sync 1, like Sound Blaster or something. one record, one playback, and some bloody mixer. Sound stuff became more complex. People wanted more stuff, so that is where ALSA was born. Advanced Linux Sound Architecture, way more complex for all the supporting everything but the kitchen sink of all the good old-fashioned wavetable and MIDI thinned and DSP and whatnot stuff. The crazy stuff is that most people don't know, back in the day, sound cards were actually more powerful. You had wavetable synthesis, you had FM synthesis, where all the stuff that modern sound cards don't even have anymore. So we have lots of advanced Linux sound architecture for vintage features that modern software doesn't have. And also, at that day, eventually after the Sound Blaster, sound cards started to have more than one playback and capture channel. What that means is usually often you had 4 playback channels, for example. That means the hardware could playback 4 PCM, pulse coded modulation, audio streams in hardware over PCI bus mastering. So basically the application and the operating system told the hardware, hey, here is some buffer, here are some audio frames, please play them, and the audio hardware would over PCIe bus mastering playback those samples there to your analog or digital output. And usually you had 4, often 3 usable, meaning sometimes the 4th was hard-coded to SPDIF, digital audio. So usually you had 4, sometimes 1 was hardwired to digital audio, so you had at least 3. What that means is that applications, you didn't need a sound server, right? Back in the day, around the year 2000, probably way until 2005 or whatever, something of that sort, you could have like your primary application sound, system sound stuff, and let's say like a phone call or something, right? So you had like 3 hardware mixed. Of course, it was also used for games and whatnot, but for like a whole operating system, you had all your 3, like up to 3 or 4, like what normal people used, bloody system sounds, primary application, and some other, or like, okay, let's say 1 background audio player for your MP3 goodness, system sounds, and your like browser or whatever, or game. Of course, the hardware vendors took these features also away. So not only you not have FM synthesis anymore and wavetable, but also only a single, like what we had 20 years ago, we don't have anymore, right? And because, sure, it is higher bitrate and HDMI pass-through and whatnot, but because the modern hardware for the last 15 or so, plus minus years, has only 1 single playback and 1 single capture hardware, at least usually, maybe you could work around this with DSPs on some advanced hardware. But anyway, so due to that, we also need a sound server. Many were written, probably not enough arts from KDE3, I still remember that stuff. So that means if you were running KDE, I think you had to run arts for bloody system sounds, which I never wanted anyway. There was also Lightem and Sound Daemon, because every desktop environment needed their Sound Daemon. ESD for that. Also annoyed the heck out of me, because each time I fired up Xemacs, it wanted to do some ESD shit, or like building Xemacs and then it errored out because some ESD sound daemon, whatever, had a header file. It's like, I wanted a bloody text editor, not like some sound server support for my Emacs. There was also network audio system NAS, because obviously you needed like 20 years ago with the Java connected world and whatnot, and use some microsystems and stuff. Obviously, you wanted network audio to play your system sound over the network to your SJ02 or whatever. Also other stuff then surrounding that, and PluseAudio and now Pipewire, right? You can never have, sure, arts. Probably arts also did other stuff, like maybe MIDI and maybe wavetable, as far as I remember, maybe. Also, actually, there was also Jack, right? Actually, and so did I forget to list Jack now? Jack is a implementation from friends of us and who we knew back in the day, who still wrote Ardour, the otherwise state-of-the-art open source digital audio workstation. I think Paul Davis. So many names in 25 years, I start to forget some. Sorry for that. I think Paul Davis or plus minus probably. And so the irony is the people, Paul Davis, the people had to write PluseAudio when there was a highly professional like low latency. So what is Jack? Jack is more like more for more professional applications, inter-application routing. So think you have your audio workstation and then other synthesizers and effects and stuff. So that is basically low latency inter-digital audio workstation effect routing and stuff. Maybe even MIDI support and so on. I get they all serve a different purpose because Jack is more low level, low latency and more inter-application, and PluseAudio is more like bloody system sounds and dynamically switching that to your Bluetooth headset. There are certainly other use cases for each own, but it is crazy that actually with the birth of the Linux kernel some 30 years ago, it's actually 30 years and we still don't have a 100% working audio server solution, which I personally wouldn't even need, right? I personally would be happy with 2 or 3 or just give me 4 hardware channels. I wouldn't even need this bloody software mixing because as I'm outlined, we only need this because modern hardware does only have one playback and audio channel often. And to play system sounds and stuff, I would actually mostly be fine. I mean, I personally wouldn't even need it the most. And I actually, for the last 15 years, where I was somewhat absent from supporting desktop Linux with my Linux distribution and only focused on virtualization and embedded and stuff and mostly ignored the failed states as was desktop Linux, I personally would be even fine to directly assign, or like not assign, but use, like if I fire OBS up, OBS has a sound card. I don't even need system sounds and whatnot. Just give me OBS. I understand additional stuff is convenient. I understand modern people want to dynamically switch to your Bluetooth headset and HDMI audio. But my point is, like, how can software be so strangely written that it simply filters out your main audio device on your PC, and veteran Linux developers need to freaking Google the heck out of how to bloody convince a stupid audio server to offer the primary audio source of the system to the user. That, ladies and gentlemen, is a state of the Linux desktop and audio servers. And I'm certainly not amused. I mostly want to share some light on this. I'm sorry that I have to. I wish I could sit here and say everything on Linux is so much better than Windows and Mac OS, but no, we have systemd and PluseAudio, soon Pipewire. And also increasingly software is taking away direct ALSA support, right? So for many years, I'm not even sure if it still compiles, but once upon a time you could use ALSA directly without stupid middlemen that are sound servers. But I think since sandboxing, that mostly didn't work, or you had to specifically patch the source code to allow that, and so on, right? Some modern software, I recently had an emulator that, although recently I packaged live on the More Live channel some SNES 95 or so, SatNES or whatever, something of that sort, whatever that was. Maybe that even didn't have, alright, it had 2 codebooks. The first flavor I built crashed on startup when it couldn't open an OSS or ALSA device or something of that sort, and I had to kill the PluseAudio daemon. But then I found it had another build style where it had PluseAudio support. But last but not least, just rewriting, I would not blame this on C. I mean, sure, you could blame stuff like, yeah, C is difficult, the glorified portable assembler macro preprocessor front end, that is C, and all the Linus Torvalds and Pöttering and stuff, they love and pry out of their dead old grey dead hands, fingers and stuff. And I wouldn't blame C alone. If you take this, if the attitude doesn't change of like, we need complex configuration profiles and power to the user with configuring all this stuff, it's like, most users, including me, don't want to configure this stuff and policies and stuff. So if you take the same design approach and just rewrite it in Rust, it will not make anything better. It will have the same, like if you have a specification and that are our configuration profiles and stuff, even if you write it in Rust, like as always, if you have a design and you implement it in language C or language R, the behavior, like if you implement it bug-free and stuff, will be the same. So just rewriting a sound server in Rust will not solve the problem. It is what I found in 25 years, a general legacy Unix attitude problem of like, we need to make configuration needlessly complex because there is one user out there who wants to configure that and whatnot with Bluetooth or coming home and it automatically switching from Bluetooth to I don't know what. I only know that since I had this AM5 laptop, today was the first day where I finally took the 30 minutes to Google this random nonsense to finally have freaking audio on my new Linux workstation. And that should not be it. And then tells it normal users, like tells my wife or father. And last but not least, there's another issue that since I live streamed, I will be curious in this live stream because my other live streams on my More Live channel had small clicks in there that I usually didn't had with the AM4 based Ryzen 2700, 3950 or 5950. And obviously it's not AMD processor related, but it's probably this kind of reference sample rate or stuff because every 10 or 15 seconds there was some click that maybe most even wouldn't notice, but it certainly annoyed me. Obviously, I'm not sitting here and debugging why on my latest Linux workstation I sometimes have like every 15 seconds some strange audio dropouts, which again, 25 years ago on an Athlon 600 with the M-Audio Delta 1010, I could record 8 channels, probably even higher sample rate and probably 24 bits stuff without drops. And in the year 2022, I can't live stream from a 32 thread 5 gigahertz boosting high-end workstation without clicks and dropouts, right? I will see if it has this dropouts in this video, this live stream. My suspicion is it was related to this IEEE device and maybe whatever remixing glitch was going on there, it didn't have a reference clock or who knows what strange stuff was happening there without another, because certainly I'm not even sure if that had a recording source. I didn't check that. So some strange stuff was going on there that I'm curious to see if that is resolved in this video. But it should also not be that you have, well, for most people it doesn't matter if there are some clicks and stuff unless you listen to your audiophile flag collection here laying around in your file system. It's certainly not ideal, right? Normal users will survive with that, with audio clicks in your YouTube video or Zoom conference or AAA game. But sure, it's always nicer if you don't have strange clicks, right? And it's like, yeah, but I would design it entirely different, but more to that in my upcoming microkernel series and stuff. And no, this is not an advertisement for my upcoming vaporware microkernel stuff. I'm just saying this is not how you design software, right? Not on Windows, not on Mac. That stuff doesn't work by default and disappear. And yeah, that's basically it. I hope you learned something. Leave in the comments, are you already on Pipewire? How many problems over the years did you have with PluseAudio? How amazed, maybe I make a poll there on my community page, how satisfied are you with the state of audio on your desktop Linux? We have quite some comments. Let's take a quick look, but not too long, because usually I digress in 30 minutes more and I repeated everything probably 2.5 times. Yeah, someone said the future of PluseAudio is just the first comment there. The future of PluseAudio is Pipewire. Yes, I know that. I mentioned that. I tried it already 4 weeks ago. It did not just work. So YOLO, yes, I should read the freaking manual. But honestly, I would also appreciate if I kill PluseAudio and start Pipewire, that it works. Maybe there is more integration, YOLO and whatnot, PluseAudio compatibility needed. I will look into that. But I look into details for 25 years live here on this and the More Live channel, right? And it's like I'm also a little bit tired of reading the freaking manual for bloody sound on my just because I plug my SSD into the new workstation. I don't want to read the freaking manual for new bloody sound server. But yeah. Anyway, so someone thinks we are a hero. I appreciate to hear that. Thanks for that. But yeah, I hope that gives you some feedback, so it's not like everything sucks. I hope you learned something of the history, where we came from, how many other sound servers existed. I should also say that this ESD and ART somewhat, but certainly ESD and NAS are or were very simple, right? It's nothing, probably like 5% of the complexity of PluseAudio. It was just meant for some applications to share a single audio device, not the modern complexity and Bluetooth switching and yada yada yada. Or like in the case of NAS network audio systems for playing MP3 on your toaster and stuff. Anyway, I hope you learned something. And especially how not to write software, right? If you design your stuff, apply some common sense how it should work, and not that obvious things are filtered away from the user, like taken away from the user, and they're not even given an obvious direct choice to put it back. I find this so bizarre. I really find it bizarre to design it like that. I have no idea what they even. Yes, I can write the code, but I don't want to throw up more. I need to move on. I have seen enough. I don't need to read the PluseAudio code as well just to find out why this disappeared. I mean, now it reappeared anyway, so whatever. Rob agrees, he's right. Also hate the latitude rect speakers channel and headphone channels are wired backwards and can't reverse it. What the heck, that rect speakers channel and headphone channels are wired? You mean left and right switched? Should this not be possible to switch in PluseAudio, or rather theoretically they have some filters? There must be some correction for that. I mean, very theoretically you could hack that in, like if there, I mean, I would expect you can filter that in PluseAudio or Pipewire. If not, or maybe the best thing would be to fix it in the kernel, to apply Quirk and swap. Although they it's not easily kernel swappable, because the user space buffers in ALSA are directly mapped, and so there should not be a format conversion. It should be zero copy to the PCI DMA. So it should be bus mastered from the PCIe devices out of your system memory. That's the application supplied to the kernel. So given it's zero copy, you can't swap it in the kernel. So, but there should be plenty of ways to correct that if you want it. But yeah. Luke would buy our Linux in a heartbeat. That is amazing. We have a new €8 plan for you there on the More Life channel yesterday, right? Announcing that, learning from the best of the industry, making T2 €8 too. Hope you enjoy this. Thanks for that, your Patreon and YouTube membership and stuff. What else? Yes, there. Anyway, Luke says we are the only person they take seriously about tech stuff. Happy to hear that. And that's also why I started the YouTube channel, because there's so much bullshit out there that is, like Louis Rossmann often also points out, unacceptable. And I find it really unacceptable that the primary audio device is not appearing as an audio sync. I don't know what codes they've written, but it sure ain't working. Bug-free. #peakbugs. So yeah, many comments, FreeBSD and stuff. Some more stuff. Some CEO is crazy at Ubuntu. Other stuff. Anyway, quite some comments. I go over them later. As usual, don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. I hope you learned something, and see you soon for the next videos and live streams, and now audio to come.